One more thing. Equator means equal, as you are certainly aware. If you lived at the equator, every single day there's going to be 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. Doesn't matter what day of the year it is. It's actually 12 hours and 7 minutes, but who's counting? However, the farther from the equator you go, both north and south, so into the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, the longer the daylight period is going to be during the summer, and the longer the darkness period is going to be during the winter. This means that as you increase distance latitudinally from the equator, you will experience greater and greater extremes of daylight period, depending on what season it is. So that if you're at the North Pole or the South Pole and the South Pole both experience 6 months straight of daylight followed by 6 months straight of darkness. Incredible extremes. Seattle has longer daylight periods in the summer and shorter daylight periods in the winter than Los Angeles. Seattle is north of Los Angeles. It's further from the equator than Los Angeles is. San Francisco is further north from the equator than Los Angeles also. So San Francisco has longer daylight periods during the summer and shorter daylight periods during the winter than Los Angeles. However, San Francisco is about halfway, a little less than halfway between Los Angeles and Seattle. Because of that, Seattle is going to have longer daylight periods during the summer and shorter daylight periods during the winter than San Francisco. And Los Angeles, which is north of San Diego, will have longer daylight periods during the summer and shorter daylight periods during the winter than San Diego, because San Diego is almost on the Mexican border. Take a look at this diagram. This is one of the two equinoxes, or both of them. And notice on the far right-hand side, it tells you hours of daylight. Remember, on the equinox, the sun is directly overhead, the subsolar point is at the equator, and every place on Earth gets the same amount of sunlight and darkness. Equinox, equal night. Okay? And if you look, you can see 12 hours of daylight every place you look, because everything is equal on the equinoxes. However, if we look at the June solstice, now look what's happening. At the equator, it's 12 hours of daylight. But if you begin to go north, at 41 degrees north, 15 hours of daylight. 66.5 degrees north, 24 hours of daylight. But if you go into the southern hemisphere, watch what happens. At 41 degrees south, 9 hours of daylight. At 66.5 degrees south, 0 hours of daylight. Notice, as you get away from the equator, you experience extremes in daylight hours. So the farther away from the equator you go, the greater the extremes in daylight hours. Let's invert this. Look at the December solstice. Notice at the equator still 12 hours of daylight, which means 12 hours of darkness. But now as you go to the northern hemisphere, 41 degrees north, 9 hours of daylight. 66.5 degrees north, 0 hours of daylight. 41 degrees south, 15 hours of daylight. 66.5 degrees south, which of course is further away from the equator than 41 degrees south, 24 hours of daylight. Can you see that? As you get away from the equator, you will experience greater and greater extremes in daylight hours. So let's try it. Where is the longest day of the year, the longest daylight period of the year in the state of California? Hint, it of course occurs on the summer solstice, June 21 or 22, it varies annually. And it's the farthest place from the equator. So in California, where is the farthest place from the equator? Is it the northern border of California with Oregon, or is it the southern border of California with Mexico? Okay, I'm not going to tell you, but it's one of those two. And one of those two is going to experience the longest daylight period of the year in the state of California. And it's the place that's farthest from the equator. Where's the shortest day of the year in the state of California? Well, first of all, hint number one, it occurs on the winter solstice, December 21 or 22. It varies annually. And it's also the farthest place from the equator. Where is the farthest place from the equator in the state of California? Is it the northern border of California with Oregon or the southern border of California with Mexico?